Hello and welcome to another live episode of the Alex Nitzberg Show. I'm Alex Nitzberg and thank you for joining me today. I do these episodes every Saturday at 3:30 usually. Last week was a little bit later, but thank you for joining me again at the regular time today. I'm going to be talking about, you can see the title is DeSantis versus Trump. I'm going to be showing some clips where you can compare and contrast Trump and DeSantis making comments about abortion and also about the idea of whether a man can become a woman. And also, I'm going to show you a few other things, including some clips of Senator Rand Paul, talking about Ukraine, aid to Ukraine, and also apparently the Pentagon will basically still be able to do Ukraine-related stuff even if there's a government shutdown. But let me go ahead and get started with the Trump-DeSantis stuff here. And there's your reminder, please don't forget to give this show a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Also subscribe and leave a comment as well. But let me get over here. So I want to show you these clips. And, you can make up your mind about what you think about these two clips. I'll probably give my opinion as well, but let me show you these. The first one here is Trump talking about the issue of abortion. And he basically indicates that that this 6-week abortion ban in Florida that DeSantis signed earlier this year is a terrible thing. Now, DeSantis signed it, and when I say 6-week abortion ban, it's basically, it has a bunch of caveats, but basically this measure was to prohibit abortions after gestation, the baby is like a gestational age of 6 weeks or more. I think it was actually after it's more than 6 weeks. But the thing is, it's not really in effect yet, even though it was signed and everything, due to I think there's some pending thing in the Florida Supreme Court about a 15-week ban. And anyway, so it's not in effect yet. But it's a good policy, and assuming it does go into effect. Now, Trump said it was a terrible thing. That's not good. If you're pro-life, you don't want your candidate or a candidate, that's the likely candidate to be saying something like that. And I want to show you what he said here.
If a federal ban landed on your desk, if you were reelected, would you sign it at 15
Are you
weeks?
talking about a complete ban?
A ban at 15 weeks?
Well, people are starting to think of 15 weeks. That seems to be a number that people are talking about right now.
Would you sign that?
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something, and we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years. I'm not going to say I would or I wouldn't. I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I
goes
think what
too
he
far?
did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake. But we'll come up with a number. But at the same time, Democrats will.
All right, so there's that, him talking about that. Now, here's a clip of DeSantis talking to Glenn Beck about this issue.
He said Florida's 6-week abortion ban was a terrible mistake.
Protecting unborn babies that have detectable heartbeats is not terrible. It's noble. It's just. And it should be something that anyone says that they're pro-life would embrace. I don't see how you could claim to have been at one time pro-life and then turn around and say that it's terrible that a state would enact protections for life. And we did, I think, what most people were hoping states would do once Dobbs came down. So it's something that I'm proud that we did. It was the right thing. It was based on science and data and evidence in terms of that detectable heartbeat. And there's a bunch of other states that did similar. And I think that they stood up and stood for life as well. So what you can't do is, especially on fundamental issues, you can't say that, the question, should an unborn that has a detectable heartbeat, should they be protected or not? Or can it just be flushed away? And it doesn't matter if 80% of the people think it should be protected or only 20% of the people think it be protected. It's not a poll question. It's a fundamental question about your values, about what you think. I think this country is based on the idea that we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, starting with the right to life. So when I have that in front of me, that decision is, of course, it's something that's willing that you should protect. It's not terrible to be able to save lives.
No compromise.
Well, here's the thing. It's one thing to say that there are strategic judgments that can be made.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. This interview is on Blaze TV if you want to watch the whole thing, and I would recommend that you watch the whole thing. Also, I believe it's premiering as we speak on YouTube, so you can go on Glenn Beck's YouTube channel, watch it, and I would recommend that you do that. But, I mean, if you're pro-life, and you're comparing these two clips, it's obvious to me, and I mean, I think if you're pro-life, you would probably agree. Now, the thing is, DeSantis is clearly better on this issue. I mean, I would say. I mean, if you compare these two clips here. Now, I know there are a lot of people that are Trump fans, and maybe they won't like that I'm saying that, but I think objectively, if you look at these two clips and you're pro-life, and that's something that you really care about, and it's an important issue to you, how could you possibly think that Trump is going to be better on this than DeSantis? Now, let me point out, just to be fair here, Trump over here is saying he's putting out on Truth Social some stuff. He did help overturn Roe versus Wade by putting on Supreme Court justices that eventually went on to help overturn that. He said, I was able to do something that nobody thought was possible in Roe versus Wade. For 52 years, people spent vast amounts of money but couldn't get the job done. I got the job done. Thanks to the 3 great Supreme Court justices I appointed, this issue has been returned to the states where all legal scholars on both sides felt it should be. Now the pro-life community has tremendous negotiating power. So he put that on Truth Social. And to be fair, I'm not saying he's the worst pro-life person ever. I mean, that was great that he put on some people that helped overturn Roe versus Wade. But obviously, if he's making a comment saying that a 6-week abortion ban is a terrible thing, that is not a pro-life position at all. And also, if you watch the clip of DeSantis on Glenn Beck, he goes on later to say something about how he thinks that what Trump said could also go on to hurt the pro-life cause in the future, because he said something, what was it? It was something to the effect of people, I think, fighting for a referendum in Florida that would basically take the issue out of the legislature's hands. Some sort of abortion related thing. Anyway, you should look it up and see what he said, because he made another point about how it wasn't just about this particular current thing here. It was the future, and what Trump said could harm the pro-life cause in the future as well. So that's bad. I mean, that's just bad. If you're pro-life, what Trump said there is bad. Also over here, here's another thing where Trump put out, he said, like Ronald Reagan before me, I believe in the 3 exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. Without the exceptions, it is very difficult to win elections. We would probably lose majorities in 2024 and perhaps the presidency itself, but you must follow your heart. In order to win in 2024, Republicans must learn how to talk about abortion. This issue cost us unnecessarily but dearly in the midterms. Now, I guess you could say there's a time where, if you're a politician, if you're trying to win on an issue, there's a better way to talk about something and not a better way to talk about something. But when DeSantis was saying it doesn't matter what polling is on an issue, and he wasn't talking about exceptions to abortion in that particular context, he was just talking about abortion in general. But there, I would say most issues, they're not something you pull on. If I was in Congress, I don't really care what the polling is. Like DeSantis was saying, it doesn't matter if it's 80-20 and people want abortion. It's wrong. You don't support it even if the people want it. So I don't really like this idea of learning how to talk about it. The issue cost us. If something's right and it costs you elections, so be it. That's what I would say about that comment there. But all right, so next issue here I want to mention, and by the way, I should just say that leave a comment and let me know what you guys think about all this. I'm telling you what I think, but you can leave a comment and let me know what you think. Okay, so here is another compare contrast here with Trump talking about both Trump and DeSantis being asked, can a man become a woman? And let me just show you the clips and we'll talk about it a little bit here.
Can a man become a woman?
In my opinion, you have a man, you have a woman. I think part of it is birth. Can the man give birth? No. Although they'll come up with some answer to that also someday. I heard just the other day they have a way that now the man can give birth. No, I would say I'll continue my stance on that.
All right, and now here's DeSantis.
Can a man become a woman?
No. How ridiculous that we're even asking that question. And, sometimes people will knock me because they'll say that he's talking about woke and you shouldn't worry about who, people say, who cares about it, right? Look, society needs to be grounded in truth. And if you're telling me a man can get pregnant and you're telling me a man can become a woman, that is not true. And I'm not going to accept that as true, and I'm not going to be complicit in a lie. And if our society is built on a mountain of lies, even on those issues which maybe some people don't care as much about, how are you going to have a situation where you're going to have get things right? So being rooted in truth, the truth will set you free. is very, very important, and we've gone off the rails. I think it gives us an opportunity, though, to start bringing people into the fold on our side who are like, you know what? I may have been a D or I may have been an independent, but this is insane.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. Now, obviously, it's not like Trump didn't come out and say, like, yes, a man can become a woman. He seemed to be, like, indicating, no, he seemed to be but if you just compare the answers, it's like, do you want a candidate who goes, and then, like, what the way the Trump answered it, instead of just like, no, like, the answer is no, and it's ridiculous. I mean, that is the correct answer, and obviously, I think that DeSantis gave a much better answer. So, I would just say, like, when you're looking at these things, and I'm saying this as someone who pretty much expects that Trump is probably going to be the nominee, and if Trump is the nominee, I will vote for him. Obviously, I'm not going to be one of those never Trump guys who's like, oh, whatever. But this is not the general election. What we're talking about right now is a primary between Republican candidates, and it appears to me that DeSantis is clearly a more conservative and better candidate than Trump. So if you're a Republican who's looking to vote in the primary, this is not a general election. Like, if Trump's the guy in the general election, yeah, you support him. Obviously, I mean, he's way better than Biden. But you're looking at Trump versus DeSantis in the primary, and you're looking at these clips, and it's like, if you're pro-life, if you oppose radical leftist gender ideology, and you want someone who will stand on the truth unequivocally and just completely, like, shut it down, stand against it, it looks like DeSantis is going to be more of a killer on that. He's going to be better at that than Trump. Now, once again, just to be fair, it's not like Trump is like a Democrat who's just, like, promoting radical leftist gender ideology or something. I mean, okay, he does have that relationship with Caitlyn Jenner and stuff. But what I'm saying is he's not, like, he's obviously better than a Democrat or something. Here's a clip of him talking about gender ideology, getting it out of schools and keeping men out of women's sports. So, he's on the right track, sort of, but he's just not as conservative as DeSantis. It doesn't seem as fixed on the issues he should be.
I mean, you go back 10.
Let me show you this here.
I will ban the critical race theory and far left gender ideology from our school. And you've been hearing me say this. I will keep men out of women's sports, if that's okay. Because how ridiculous is that, right? Who would even think, I mean, you go back 10 or 15 years, if you ever said a thing, people would say, why were you saying that? How crazy is it? And they actually try.
So he's talking about this. I mean, he gets that it's crazy, but it's just like, I think he should be stronger on this issue. And he should be stronger on the abortion issue, and maybe he won't be, but so he's not. So okay, well then I prefer DeSantis. But so there's that. All right. So, and once again, you guys can let me know in the comments what you think about all that, both the abortion and the gender stuff with Trump and DeSantis there. All right. So another topic here. This is kind of switching gears. But, have you been to the grocery or the gas station lately? The prices are ridiculous. And so I was like, if you go shopping at the grocery or buy gas, it's like a free advertisement to vote for conservatives. Because the prices are out of control. So gas is high. And when gas is high, that makes everything higher because, groceries and pretty much all goods have to be transported, which means that if the gas prices are high, then the prices of most stuff's going to be up because of the fuel cost of transportation and all that. And I also mentioned in this tweet I have up on the screen, when you talk about high inflation, eating away at the purchasing power of your money, causing prices to go up. And by the way, I like to talk about inflation as an increase in the money supply that causes prices to go up. People talk about inflation a lot like it is prices going up. I think of inflation as an increase in the money supply that causes the prices to go up. So the price going up is more of a cause of the increased money supply. Obviously, there are factors with supply and demand that make prices go up as well, like kind of stuff like that. But when I talk about inflation, I'm thinking of an increase in the money supply that causes the prices of goods to go up. And so Republicans are also to blame for this issue. It's not like Democrats are the only people that vote for monstrous spending bills, just like spending tons of money, getting our country into debt and stuff. Republicans, if you pay attention, many Republicans are very much guilty of that as well. So maybe Democrats are more guilty of it, but there's a lot of Republicans who should be voted out because they're not really conservative and they're not upholding conservative fiscal conservatism and other forms of conservatism. So, and here's a funny little meme. It says, when you finally make it to the middle class, and inflation gets so high, it makes you lower class again. So I thought that was kind of funny in a twisted, sad kind of way. Because, yeah, I mean, inflation is like out of control over the last few years. If you had just money sitting in the bank, it's worth substantially less now as far as what you can buy with it because of the prices of things going up compared to what you could before. Okay, and I mentioned this in the intro. This Politico headline says Pentagon exempts Ukraine operations from potential government shutdown. If you've been paying attention to the news, you've likely noticed all the discussion about the possible government shutdown at the end of this fiscal year, which is at the end of this month. And so, according to this article, if you go down here, it says if lawmakers fail to reach an agreement and government appropriations lapse, Department of Defense has decided to continue activities supporting Ukraine. DoD spokesperson Chris Sherwood told Politico Thursday. And then there's a quote, Operation Atlantic Resolve is an accepted activity under a government lapse in appropriations, Sherwood said. And it says down here, the move means that the U.S. military's activities related to the war, such as training Ukrainian soldiers on American tactics and equipment, as well as shipments of weapons to Kiev, will continue despite any potential shutdown. So there you go. If there's a shutdown, apparently the government will continue doing Ukraine stuff. And, this Ukraine issue is something that's divided the Republican Party. There's the side where people think we need to continue supporting Ukraine as long as it takes to defeat Russia. And then there's other people who are like, why are we sending all of this money over to Ukraine? And there's some people, maybe more in the middle, or kind of like, we want more checks and balances on ensuring this money is being spent properly and not being wasted or spent on whatever. So, but anyway, I come down on this side of, why are we sending any of this money over there? We should stop sending it and just cut them off completely. Not that I'm not sympathetic to them being invaded and stuff, but just like, why is it America's job or in America's interest even to be just pumping so much money over there? Now, the argument could be, and in fact, Mike Pence, I believe, makes the argument, well, if you let them invade Ukraine, then maybe they'll go into a NATO country. I really question why America should even be in NATO. So I personally think, maybe America should not be in NATO. I'm not going to be like real firm on that because I'm not, I'm not super well versed in it or whatever. And I know the foreign policy hawks will come down hard on me for saying that. But my personal feeling toward the issue right now is that America being in NATO is just, it threatens us because we have this, this trigger policy where if one of the NATO countries gets invaded, then we're likely going to end up in a war. How does that benefit the United States to be in a situation where all these countries can get invaded and we have to go into war? So, I'm not really a fan of NATO, and I definitely am not a fan of sending all this money to Ukraine. Now, let me show you a clip here of Rand Paul this week talking about this issue, and also, actually, before I hold on a second. Oh, I think
a lot of people.
Let me get rid of that first. Before this clip even comes on, let me just point out to you John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania. You can see him; he's kind of small here, but he's right here. That's John Fetterman presiding over the Senate while wearing shorts and a short sleeve shirt. Why is that happening? Well, you probably heard maybe that Schumer basically relaxed or kind of ditched this dress code that apparently required senators to, I guess, wear business attire or something. I've read, I don't really think that the policy was written necessarily. I think it was more like an informal policy is the way Schumer's statement described it. But anyway, so apparently now the senators can wear whatever they want. Basically, they can wear what they want on the floor, and Fetterman took advantage of that and wore shorts and a short-sleeve shirt while presiding. But that's just an aside. What I want to say here is, look at Rand Paul and what Rand Paul is saying here about the Ukraine stuff.
Put the leadership of the House.
The senator from Kentucky.
I rise to put the leadership of the House, the Senate, and the President of the United States on notice. I will not consent to any expedited passage of any spending bill that provides any more American aid to Ukraine. It's as if no one has noticed that we have no extra money to send to Ukraine. Our deficit this year will exceed $1.5 trillion. Borrowing money from China to send it to Ukraine makes no sense. It's not as if we have some sort of rainy day fund sitting around, trillions of dollars at a pot of money, and we're just going to send that to Ukraine. We're going to borrow it. When we borrow it and create new money to pay for that borrowing, we create the inflation that is plaguing our economy.
So there you go. There's more what I was talking about, inflation and, the money supply expanding and all that. Let me show you this other clip too at the end of his speech.
Every day this war continues is another spin of the roulette wheel with another chance of it stopping on Armageddon. And we are paying for the privilege.
I thought that was a good quote there. Because, it's like, besides just the cost and the inflation and all that stuff, there is the risk of us getting drawn into a war with Russia, which we do not need or want. So that's that stuff. Also, just to wrap things up here, there's this this video clip here of Gavin Newsom from Governor of California, and saying that
it's time for us to...
I guess I won't play the clip, but he's saying the climate crisis is a fossil fuel crisis, and it's just like, people, I think, pointed out, and it's like, he's at the UN giving this speech. He's from California, he's in New York. How did he get there? Like, I presume that he flew across the country to get there. So it's like, okay, so we have a fossil fuel crisis and you flew on a plane. Now, obviously, like, a lot of climate alarmists do this sort of thing. They fly around and stuff. Even if it wasn't a private plane, it's just like, if everything is as dire as they say it is, and we need to take drastic action, and everything needs, consumption needs to be cut dramatically, and then they're flying around on planes, the hypocrisy is palpable. So, and here's a joke along those lines. Look at this. World leaders on their way to another climate conference with this huge, line of planes. I thought that was pretty funny, because that's what people make fun of that all the time, because it's ridiculous. There will be a climate, like literally like a climate conference, and everybody flies there, and it's like, and then they talk about how bad fossil fuels are and how bad it is to use, to use planes and cars and everything. It's just ridiculous. And along the lines of high prices, inflation, and gas, when I was talking about how it's when you pay those high prices for gas and groceries, it's like an advertisement to vote for conservatives. A part of that is because why? Well, conservatives would, a real conservative would unleash American energy companies in America, just to pump oil, to pursue whatever sort of energy they want. And the more energy we have, the cheaper it's going to be, supply and demand. And instead of having all the regulations and stuff that also, kind of, what is the word? Hinder or scare companies off from wanting to invest, you need to just unleash everything, dump many of those regulations, and let people, drill and all that stuff. So, I think if we had conservatives in office, that our energy prices would probably be going down, and that would help the grocery prices go down and everything pretty much go down. So, thank you for watching this episode of the show. Let me go in and over on the comments. Perseverance777, I saw you left some comments, so thank you for that. I saw you said, "Thou shalt not murder," and murder is a taking of innocent life. Obey God rather than man. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you're if you're a politician and you claim to be a Christian, you shouldn't make decisions based on what's popular or what's trendy or what people want. That's something that people always talk about polls and stuff. It's like, if I was a politician, I really wouldn't care what polls said about almost anything, because I would already know what I wanted to do, what I believed in before I got there. And I don't care what the poll says, because I already know what the right thing is to do. So anyway, Perseverance77 also said, "Confusion is of the devil and slippery slope." So thank you for all those comments, Perseverance777. And I will note, when I'm talking about all this, DeSantis is Roman Catholic. He's not a Christian, okay? So if you're voting for him and you're a Christian, you can be aware of that. I mean, just like when you're voting for Trump, you're not voting for a pastor. You're voting for who you think is going to be the best candidate. Trump obviously, doesn't seem like a Christian. DeSantis is not a Christian. So when you're comparing them, it's not like you're voting for a Christian. You got a choice between a Catholic and Trump, who's whatever, So anyway, but when you compare the two, I think that it's clear that DeSantis is a better candidate. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Some of you might be Trump supporters, so maybe you could explain to me why you think that Trump is better, even after watching those clips. I think that's probably an impossible argument, but somebody might want to make it. So, I saw Perseverance777 said, "You pervert Ben Carson." I like Ben Carson a lot. I would love to interview him someday. I also don't think he is a Christian either. I think he is like a Seventh-day Adventist, or like I think a Seventh-day Adventist, something like that. So I don't think he is a Christian either, but he seems like a really good man. DeSantis seems like a good guy too. But like I said, when you're voting for politicians, you're looking at the policies generally. I mean, if you could get everything all wrapped up in one, if you could get a really great Christian pastor who's also super conservative or something, that would be great. But anyway, I like Ben Carson. He seems like a great guy, and I'd love to interview him someday as well. All right, thank you guys for watching this episode of the show. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and I will see you all at 3:30 next Saturday for another episode. Oh, also, I'm about to buy a house, I think. And if I do, I'm going to probably make a little tour/walkthrough video that I'll probably upload to the channel. So if you're interested in that, I know it's kind of off topic, it's not about politics and stuff, but if you're interested in seeing my new house after I get it, that should be up hopefully in the next few weeks here. So thank you for everyone for giving us a thumbs up, or give me a thumbs up, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.